2 years ago, my bank account was hacked. That was a devastating blow to myself. And had I not gone into the bank on an early Saturday morning and gone with their security department to figure out what would happen, I would have lost everything. Now, there is not a day that doesn't go by where I am told I get emails, alerts on companies and people that are being hacked on a regular basis. I didn't think there was anything we could do about it. And then I ran into a company that has never been hacked, a software that's never been hacked called APPGUARD. Hi, my name's Roberta Perry, and I am the co-host of Invitation to Tomorrow Today. We showcase products and services that solve problems in today's environment. We are thrilled to bring you a presentation by Richard Zizian on APPGUARD, and then you too can figure out how you can no longer be hacked. Let me give you a quick example. I went up on my computer today since I installed APPGUARD and found that since 12 o'clock last night, 132 suspicious activities had been found by APPGUARD. And over the last couple of months since I installed APPGUARD, over 21,000 suspicious activities have been cataloged. Who knew? I didn't. But now you will know, like I know, more about this amazing software called APPGUARD. So sit back, take a listen, and if you're interested, reach out to me later, and I'll put you directly in touch with Richard.
She's very talented. Roberta Perry and Associates. For the past 25 years, she's been known in hospitality, entertainment, and themed entertainment as a business development catalyst. She's been, there are a couple more, Kip Pepper and Pete Riley. Sorry, but they missed the networking thing because we need to get one. In other words, she makes things happen. Where we didn't have a strategy for what happens with it. She's past president of the Nightclub and Bar Association and past president with bronze shoes in her honor of the Themed Entertainment Association internationally. Roberta, thankfully, the mic is yours.
Thank you so much, Norma Lynn. And it's such a great day to have all of you with us on our Zoom Invitation to Tomorrow showcase. Tim, in the next few minutes, I'm going to make sure that you allow Richard, or one of our speakers is in, to do a share content. So you'll do a co-host. Now, you probably are asking yourselves, why is Roberta interested in this topic of cybersecurity? Let me tell you. 10 years ago, my entire bank account was hacked. Had I not caught it on a Sunday night at 11 p.m., I would have had all my accounts emptied at 6 a.m. the next morning. Last year, my Facebook account was hacked, and people thought I was somebody else. Then 6 months ago, a little bit longer than that, my company email as well as my personal email were hacked. And people were emailing me going, "Who are you?" Well, I always ask that question myself anyway, but I was hacked. And then on Friday, I am a graduate of a master's degree of strange things called Public Address and Rhetoric from Bradley University in Illinois. And the entire Bradley University was hacked. All of our personal information is probably now on the dark web somewhere. So that is why I'm interested. And I got really interested in the topic about 4 months ago when I met our first guest speaker, Richard Zizian, when he introduced me to not only what he and his company does, but to this topic of cybersecurity. We have two incredible guest speakers with us. Richard is going to take the first 15 minutes and talk to us non-technical people about cybersecurity, especially as it relates to the product that I've just recently discovered, APPGUARD. Then he will introduce Sammy Dimes with APPGUARD, who will take the next 10 minutes and talk to all the technical people online about it. After we finish that, we'll go into a Q&A. So again, as Norma Lynn mentioned, please send your questions via chat. We will capture those and be able to ask those questions. First, though, I want to ask Richard a question. Richard, you and I, but you in particular, come from a really different world. You come from critical risk insurance or from risk insurance. Your company is critical period risk insurance. What attracted to you to this market-ready product called APPGUARD?
Thanks, Roberta. About 2 years ago, we started working with the insurance industry and look at developing cyber insurance. And what we discovered was the industry really didn't know how to protect itself. And so we started investigating technology that could help reduce losses for the insurance companies because they were starting to run into the billions of dollars. And in that search, we discovered APPGUARD, and we became so mesmerized by the solution that it brought to the industry. We changed our whole focus, and we got off of insurance and decided to go completely into risk management and formed a global partnership with APPGUARD.
Excellent. Thank you, Richard. And Richard, you've been great to work with over the last 4 months, 5 months. So I do appreciate our new association. Go ahead, Tim, and make sure he can do a share content. And then Richard,
I'm ready to go.
Go ahead and take it for the next 15 minutes for all of us non-technical people. What is APPGUARD and why should we pay attention?
Very good. So do I need to click on share screen here?
Yep, click that green share screen button and you should be able to select which either desktop or program to share.
Okay, I've already got it up live. So there we go. Okay.
Wow.
Over here. There we go. So first of all, thank you everybody, Roberta, Norma Lynn, Heidi, and Susie for coordinating today's presentation. I'm probably the least likely person on earth to be doing a cybersecurity presentation. I just figured out my iPhone 10 and my grandson helps me with the rest of it. So we're going to take a very interesting approach today and we're going to keep it non-technical, and I'll try to keep myself out of trouble technically, and then I have Sammy here to back me up if I say anything I shouldn't be saying. So today on our team, there's myself, Richard Zizian. I'm CEO of Critical Period Insurance Agency, Inc., and the division that handles cybersecurity is Critical Period Risk Management. Michael Stevenson is our president. Mike and I have been together for 10 years designing new insurance solutions for an extremely eclectic array of clients, from wind turbines to solar to iPhone cases to everything that you can think under the sun, and we've been doing it for a long time and we enjoy it. Sammy Dimes is our liaison with APPGUARD. Sammy is the one who really helps us with our presentations. We're dealing with some of the world's largest corporations, but not by design, but by accident because of where we find ourselves today, and it's a pretty exciting opportunity. So what we want you to learn about today is that there's a hole in your antivirus that they don't tell you about on television. And this is a critical issue for everyone, whether you're a single user of a laptop or you have a company enterprise. And that issue today is called 0-day, and that's the technical term for it. And a layman's term, it's never before seen malware. And that will become the sole issue today that we're going to deal with, because it's the biggest hole in cybersecurity today. So this presentation is non-technical on purpose. Most people that we talk to are non-technical and they want to remain that way. What you normally know about your antivirus is that annoying little pop-up that comes up once a year at time for renewal, and that's about as deep as you go with it. And I was the same way till I discovered APPGUARD. Those of you that are technical, have technical expertise, we will probably drive you crazy until Sammy gets to talk, because I'm going to really kind of simplify this. And if you want to get into a CISO level discussion, We were on the phones with people like Pemex, the Mexican National Oil Company, the national healthcare system in England that got hacked. And so we deal with individual computer owners all the way up to the world's largest enterprises that have the same problem that you do as an individual. So, like I said early on in my introduction, we started out to design cyber insurance because we design new insurance policies from scratch. And we looked at the 400 insurance companies out there that write cyber insurance. We found that none of them had any decent loss control. And they were basically writing a lot of premium and trying to outrun their losses. Then we went out to try to find something that we could find in the marketplace that would help these insurance companies, including ourselves, minimize our losses. And in that research, we discovered APPGUARD. And APPGUARD was so new and so compelling that we completely changed our direction. And instead of insurance, we've now gone completely into loss control, and we formed a global distribution partnership with APPGUARD. We even have our friend David from Australia on the phone with us today, and thank you. I know it's really early or really late in Australia right now. So let's get in on hacking. Hacking, it just means somebody gets into your computer in an unauthorized manner. That's kind of a layman's term for it. So who do hackers like to go after? Well, they like to go after people with weak firewalls and weak antivirus software, which is all of us. Everybody on this call right at this moment probably has 1, 2, maybe 3 antivirus products. They all have a hole in them. They all have a weakness, and the hackers know how to exploit that weakness. They like to, like Roberta said, they got her Facebook account. They like social media. They like small businesses. They like large business. They like financial industry. They like healthcare. Right in the middle of developing a COVID vaccine in England, they go out and they attack. And local government, they love to shut down the 911 service and take police and fire offline. Baltimore, New Orleans, these are all people that we're talking to about the solution. And they like to go where they can create the biggest disruption because most of the time they're doing it for money. And you know, 52% of the breaches are, as you can see here from the slide, are involving some type of hacking, 32 to 33% from malware, and these are the statistics that come up from Verizon. Now, here's the scary part. Antivirus is designed to stop what it recognizes. They are constantly updating antiviruses to find and program patches and wound to stop new things that discovered. It might take them 3 weeks to 3 months to find out that there's a new virus out there, and they have to create the solution. They have to send you the solution. You need to upgrade your software accordingly. Now, this thing that I just mentioned, this never before seen, this zero-day malware, just this year alone in the first 2 quarters, there's been a 63% increase in the new stuff. And the reason the new stuff is important, no antivirus can stop it. They're getting into your computers because your antivirus doesn't recognize it. And that's the zero-day hole that everybody has today. So how often are we hacking? Hackers, here we go. You know, every 39 seconds, 2,244 times a day. And you don't have to remember these statistics. I'm just trying to create an understanding here. 94% of malware is delivered by email. 62% of businesses experienced phishing and social engineering attacks in 2018. Phishing is the process where they try to get human nature and fool you. They'll make something look like from Bank of America or Wells Fargo or from Social Security. They're really good at stealing graphics and making it look so official, and you'd be surprised. Now, I'm sure everybody on this phone, you have sent something to a friend. Did you send this to me? Well, if you've done that, that's half the battle because it's awareness. But the good news is if you have APPGUARD, ultimately, you can even make a mistake and not get hurt because human nature is what gets people hacked. 64% of Americans have never checked to see if they've been affected by a data breach. How do you do that? How do you know? So we talk about cybersecurity, we talk about antivirus, we talk about firewalls. These are examples, living proof of antivirus failures in major corporations. All these people got hacked. They have dozens of people in their cybersecurity divisions. They have what we call cybersecurity stacks with all kinds of products and services designed to prevent being attacked or hacked. And it happens. Why? They're getting hit by 0 day. They found that hackers find a hole. Now the hackers are even so creative, they can take a virus or malware or Trojan that Norton, let's say, or Symantec, or one of the antivirus companies has already designed a solution for and tweak it. And so it sneaks by the gate again. So they're always trying to understand, these people sit up 24 hours a day trying to figure out how to get into your computers. Now, why do they do that? Money. 71% of breaches were financially motivated, 25% for espionage. I'm doing a major push right now for law firms. The ABA just came out and said that hacking of law firms is the new normal. Well, why would you hack a law firm? Patent information, design information, attorney-client privilege, evidence on a case. So if you got a big class action, you go hire yourself a boutique hacker, and you go in, and then you go into that law firm and you find all the evidence they have and how they're coming after your corporation for a malpractice suit or a chemical suit or whatever it is. Boutique hacking and this type of espionage is very much live today. So there's really two types of hacks as I break it down in a non-technical fashion. There's the instant hack. This is WannaCry. WannaCry has wreaked havoc around the world. So you turn on your computer, you download a PDF file. You didn't realize that it had a .exe extension on it that you couldn't see. And it took something in your computer and it weaponized it against the computer. It turned it around, whether it's an Excel file, a Word file, a PDF. It found a way to get into your computer. And all of a sudden you see this on your screen. It says WannaCry. And while you're looking at it on your screen, it's going into the company's service and it's spreading like wildfire. We're talking right now for 6 months with the National Healthcare System of England. They got hit with WannaCry. They had every hospital, every clinic, every doctor's office, every computer in healthcare in England got shut down. And then what they saw was a time clock and said, you need to give us so much money, millions of dollars in Bitcoin within 24 hours or the price goes up. So this is how they extort money out of thousands of companies every year. And this number here is 2017. When you see 400,000 computers infected, there are over 2 million computers infected in 2018 in the British healthcare system alone. The one that really, I think, concerns me the most, and not only as a business owner, as an insurance executive, as a risk manager, is this 2002 cybersecurity weather report that we just put together. So this new storm of never before seen malware is going to be hacking companies worldwide. Now, here's the interesting thing. Maybe they're already in your computer. Maybe they're already in your business and you don't know it, because the last storm, some of that bad stuff got into your computer. This is the most amazing statistic I've ever seen. The average time to identify a breach in 2019 was 206 days, according to IBM. That means somebody's been in your business files extracting and selling what they want, and it took the average companies 206 days to find out they got hacked. That was where the Marriott, the FICO, the Target, all of the DSW shoes, all those people are sitting there stealing all this data, and you've got 50 people in the cybersecurity department monitoring systems, looking things, but what's the problem? They can't see what's in there. And the stuff that's in there is the 0 days, the never been seen before. And once they find it, it takes an average of 314 days all in to get rid of the problem. I'll show you a little further on here when Sammy does a presentation of a real case of a sheriff's department that got hacked. And the solution between 206 days and 314 days, they brought in every expert they could find. They downloaded every conceivable antivirus product that they could find, and they couldn't stop it. They called AppGuard. AppGuard went in, and in 15 minutes, the crisis was over. Simply because AppGuard is not an antivirus. AppGuard is an application control product, and it works completely different. It works alongside, and it fills the hole. So 56% of Americans don't know what to do when a breach happens. They go to these police departments, these small cities, these small towns. They take their 911 offline and they hold them hostage for money. And their team, they can't afford the same type of teams that FICO or B of A has in their process. And that's what happens. So the solution to this never before seen, this zero-day malware is AppGuard. And it's the only product in the market today that can provide zero-day protection. That's why we have basically dedicated our whole company now globally, working like people at David in Australia, working for Roberta throughout the country. We have colleagues all over the world that are helping us get the word out. So just very simply, it's very compatible because it doesn't replace your antivirus. You could, because all you need is AppGuard and Windows Defender, which is free, but leave what you got. Download AppGuard. Right now it's $39.95 on a 90-day free trial for an individual computer. It's easy to do. You can download it yourself. And this is for the individual computer. And we'll show you the different products here in a minute. But every Windows user in the world, every corporation, every government should have AppGuard. Now, AppGuard is for Windows and Linux. AppGuard is not for Apple products because Apple will not let us into their technology in order to provide the solution. So this is, AppGuard was built for the CIA. And so AppGuard should be on every Windows system in the world. And that's Mr. Bob Bigman, the former CISO of the CIA, United States. So who needs AppGuard? Anyone with a computer or a server using Windows or Linux. Now that's about 78% of all the computers in the world. And there again at the bottom, AppGuard's not available on iOS products because Apple simply will not let us in to provide a solution for them. So why was AppGuard created? This is what really intrigued me about it. In 2010, the US Intelligence Agency commissioned a company called Blue Ridge Networks to develop AppGuard to protect its assets. Assets meaning spies around the world whose their computers were hacked, they probably didn't live to the next day. So it was completed in 2014, and the CIA, the DoD, and the NSA were the three agencies that deployed AppGuard. It was a requirement under the implementation that the product not be given a name. They didn't want anybody to know that it existed, and it didn't become available to the public until 2017. So most of the professional technology people that we meet have never heard of AppGuard. It's only been on the market about a little less than 24 months. So AppGuard was first deployed publicly in multinational corporations, government agencies, airlines. And what's really interesting, AppGuard is the only cybersecurity product that's owned 100% by its customers. There were 8 multinational corporations, out of many of them out of Japan, that came together and bought AppGuard from Blue Ridge Networks and created a new holding company. So AppGuard Enterprise is the product that's designed for computers that are hooked to servers. And then AppGuard Solo are for computers that are standalone and not hooked to servers. So AppGuard is a product, again, very generally non-technical. No antivirus product provides 100% protection for your computer. Depending which product you have, generally from 70 to 80% protection. AppGuard fills in the difference. The reason antivirus can't stop malware because it can't recognize it. If it doesn't recognize it, it can't stop it. So the new malware called Zero Day, never seen before, and there are 75 to 100 new zero-day malwares created every month, and there are millions of them distributed around the world trying to find victims. So AppGuard is the only product on the market today that prevents zero-day. It's never been breached since 2014. It's the only protective product on the marketplace that's never been breached. So these are the, it's not just Micah. You can see we're down there in the bottom left, critical period insurance, that's us. But we have some great company in terms of people around the world that are currently distributing AppGuard to their clients. You also see Hewlett-Packard, you'll see Verizon, you'll see AOL, a lot of the major tech companies, those people on the phone here that are tech savvy, you'll understand and recognize most of those icons there. And, even though a lot of the companies that we provide AppGuard to don't want it to be known publicly just for cybersecurity reasons, these are an example of some of the companies that are currently being protected by AppGuard. And you will recognize many of those as major corporations. So also major governments, US government agencies that we protect. And every year we win some award for cybersecurity. And it seems to be a repetitive process, which is terrific. So the advisors behind AppGuard, you look at these people, it's kind of the who's who of the Department of Defense, the CIA, the former CEO of Sony Corporation. These are some of the people that have come together on the advisory board of AppGuard. So now what I'm going to do, that's kind of my layman's presentation. You have a hole in your cybersecurity. We have a solution. Now I'm going to ask Sammy. Sammy, if you can just tell me advance when I'm ready to advance, and I'll run the slide for you.
Yeah, hi Richard, thanks a lot. Welcome everybody, thanks for having me. I am, as mentioned, Sammy Dimes, so I will be going into more detail. Richard did a great job in explaining AppGuard and what it does. I'll get into a higher overview of what it does in terms of how it protects and what makes us so unique. I'll get as technical as possible. I'm not exactly the most technical person, more on the sales side, but I will try to get as much information over to you as possible, and we'll definitely take away some questions and if we can't answer it. So that said, as Richard mentioned, just a quick overview and how AppGuard, I know Richard, you mentioned it, how AppGuard, why it was developed. It was developed for the military, for the military, Army, Marines, so on and so forth, for being able to have an endpoint protection for their units out in the field in the middle of nowhere. And why that's so unique, there's no updating required. You download the application, the endpoint protection, and that's it. You're ready to go. You don't need to do any updates, as some of the other competitors do, as the web roots or Symantec, so on and so forth. You put it onto your server or your endpoint, and you're ready to go. Very lightweight, as Richard mentioned, less than 2 megs on the endpoint, which is obviously key in terms of when you have to, if you do get hacked, we kind of fight the battle, if you would, behind the scenes with no impact to the end user, no slowing down, none of that annoying thinking going on. We fight the battle behind the scenes, and I'll get into that a little bit more. So as Richard mentioned, or as we have here, real-time protection. So what does that mean to the endpoint? Once we set up a management console, that either an administrator or if you're working with a third-party vendor, we help you set up. That's probably the hardest part of installing AppGuard once you deploy it. Basically putting in any non-standard applications, any customized applications for that enterprise. Be able to protect, load it in, and then AppGuard will then goes off behaviors, right? So it'll know what those applications does. It'll protect it, right? Hence AppGuard. Once it's deployed, then it's able to do the functions that it's supposed to, even if they are hooked on by any malware, any malicious malware or virus. They are able to do their functions. And again, we do kind of the filtering out or removing of the virus. And what is it? A great example, a classic example is someone sends out, emails you a Excel spreadsheet, right? And we go into the Excel spreadsheet, click on the Excel spreadsheet. Oh, I'm sorry, someone's just moving back there. Clicks on the Excel spreadsheet, right? Enable macros. Even if it says on the subject line, and we have stats that show people do not look at them, or anything that says do not open. Once they open, now you have released the virus, right? The malware. Well, based on the behaviors from AppGuard and how it detects the behaviors, it'll allow that Excel spreadsheet to open. Customers do what they have to do, and it's kind of weed out or prevent that malware or virus from unloading onto your endpoint computer, onto your network. As I mentioned, very light. I would say less than 2 megs, more than 1, but very light on the endpoint. Very cost effective. And what does it mean by that? So let's just say an enterprise is very lean on their IT group, or their IT group has a special project to run. AppGuard is a great solution in terms of installing it onto the endpoints and not having to worry. So you're not getting any false positives. You don't need to do any scanning. You just basically deploy it and let it do its thing and simply prevent anything from happening to the endpoints. Now, where sometimes we do get some kickback or some questions is if an enterprise customer says, you know what, we want to know who's attacking us, right? We want to know who's trying to get into the system. Is it Russian hackers? Is it hackers from Singapore? That is where we're still working on in terms of being able to give you kind of a reporting of who exactly is doing it. The purpose of AppGuard is basically to be the preventing. Like, I don't care who's trying to get in. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the IT group to basically investigate. We just want to protect our endpoints and be able to work on other projects, right? So who's key? Who's the primary customers? The SMB mid-market. Those are customers that really don't care who's trying to get into their infrastructure or into their endpoints or hack into the system. They're simply prevent, right? So this is a best example that I always use, and something that customers can relate to pretty easily. Is think of a house, right? And you have a basement, okay? An intruder or a robber or burglar goes into the basement, right? There's nothing in the basement. You don't care what's in, this old furniture or whatever. But to get to the upstairs, it's locked, right? Now, does the customer care about who's in the basement running around and trying to do whatever, even though they can't take anything or there's nothing valuable there? Or does the customer want to know who the robber is? Well, AppGuard is, we'll let them play around all they want. We don't clean. We just simply prevent. So when I tell customers, when Richard or Michael or I speak to prospective customers, our target is, or our sales pitch is not necessarily to rip and replace, right? We're not going into an organization and saying, hey, AppGuard, you've probably never heard of us, even though the technology's been out for over 10 years. We are simply a preventative solution, okay? So you have a customer that says, you know what, I have Carbon Black, or I have a Symantec or a MAC if you've had them for years, or we just signed up with them, or what have you. Big investment. We've put a lot of time and effort into it. Well, that's great, and those are great solutions. We're not knocking them. What our goal is, or what our target is, to be a complementary. So if you look at a lot of these customers that are these products, they're on the slide here. There are probably 95% protect, right? And they clean and they do the whole suite. Well, why not be 100%? That 5% could cost your organization millions, or cripple you, or even putting you out of business. Add AppGuard on, and basically you don't have nothing to worry about in the sense of I'm sorry, Rich, I should have told you. Positive, I'm not telling you to move on, but you're getting So, and then from there, as your renewals come up, and you're saying, hey, you know what? This thing works great. I don't care who's attacking us. I don't care. We really believe in the AppGuard solution. Once your renewals come up and you want to cut on costs, then you can do that. The ROI is well worth it. We're very low cost, low maintenance type of solution. So again, just going back into some of these how it works and how do viruses get into the system to get into the network, or malware, right? It's 93% of the time it goes through an application, right? And an application that an operating system is familiar with, right? It could be a Google Chrome. I know when I turn on my computer and I go into Google Chrome, the AppGuard pop-up always comes up just as an alert that it's allowing the Google Chrome application to go through, but preventing anything else from attaching onto that application from spreading into my computer. That's how most applications, or I'm sorry, viruses spread, if you would. AppGuard will simply prevent that by sitting in the kernel of the computer, which is the brain of the computer, and monitors the user system space versus user space. So an example for non-tech people, and again, I'm trying to get as technical as possible without, biting my tongue, is basically when you have that C user system in your computer where you get your files and such, that's typically where a lot of these viruses sit. So what it does is when you click on one of your files and then it goes into the the system space, it'll be able to see what's going in there, what's going back and forth, and that's typically where the damage is done once these viruses are sitting into the network or it's sitting into your endpoint. Before I keep going, I know I've rambled on a lot and Rich just said a lot. Is there any questions, or are we going to do a Q&A, or we're going to submit that
At the end.
Okay. Well, so you could go to the next slide.
We do have,
Or is that
oh, you're finishing, I'm sorry.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, we only have 2 more slides.
Okay. So again, as I mentioned earlier, and was just speaking, and what's really a selling point, and Richard showed a lot of the enterprise that we're starting to get into. We could probably fill up another 2 slides if we wanted to go into how many POCs, proof of concepts, that we have going on right now. We're getting a lot of traction, a lot of interest. We're getting a lot of good feedback at trade shows when they were available, when we were able to do them pre-COVID. But some of the customers now that are really interested in or have bought into APPGUARD and phasing them out into certain organizations within their groups is some of the railroad companies in terms of Norfolk, Southern, I believe, is one of the customers. As Richard mentioned, the police, county, I'm butchering the county in Minnesota, Minnetonka County Police, where, as Richard mentioned, they got hit with I told you I butchered it. They got hit. They were working with a third-party vendor who was familiar with APPGUARD, called us in, and we were able to install immediately and block out and defeat the malware that crippled their 911 response. Another example is Cape Cod Community College in Massachusetts, where they were demoing APPGUARD. We were going back and forth in terms of what are the next steps. They kind of put it on the side, and they got hacked. And they were trialing the APPGUARD solution on 15 different computers, endpoints, and I believe it was 15 servers. All their systems got hacked, broken into, except those 15 and 15. And they immediately called us and said, we need to deploy this ASAP. So these are all testimonials you can see on our website. We have plenty more we could go over and take deeper dives. And then later on, anybody who's interested, we could then set up more of a deeper dive call in terms of seeing an actual demo of how it works. Take you through some more deep dive testimonials, and how our solution continues to evolve and how we're becoming more of a player in the endpoint protection market. But again, I want to emphasize the fact that, although a lot of people have not heard of APPGUARD, a few things: A, we've been out for 10 years. B, we were designed for military. And C, we are more of a complementary, so if you are looking to bring it into your organization or present it to a different organization, I know it would be a tough sell to say, hey, we heard this, great cybersecurity company called APPGUARD, and upper managers saying, who the heck are they? Well, we're a key player in terms of what we do and how our technology is different than your traditional Symantec. I, like I said, introduced it as more complementary first, and then if you want to rip and replace any other solutions that you have. Typically, you see.
Sammy, I'm going to interrupt you. So sorry, because we're going to have to move on. I'm going to move back to Richard to do a conclusion, because I know later anyone that's interested, we can do a deeper dive. We can set that up offline. But Richard, why don't you go ahead and take about a minute to do a real quick.
Sure. Sammy.
By the way, for everybody on the call, I've asked Richard to do this conclusion because it's not our showcase is not a sales, we're not a sales vehicle, but I've asked Richard to give you the information. And then we do have, but Richard, why don't, before we go into that, let me ask you the question that came up in the chat. So either you or Sammy can answer this question. The question is this product ISO 27001 cybersecurity certified? Now, I don't have a clue what that means, but there's some very smart people on this call.
I could tell. That's I would have to take that back, and you know, I could filter it through Richard. I'm sorry.
ISO 27001. I feel like James Bond. Cybersecurity certified.
I will get that back as soon as possible.
Okay, no problem. And then we'll get it back to the person who asked that question.
Sure. I would venture a guess and say I'm pretty sure would have to be based upon the security clearances that we have and where we place the product now.
But we'll get back and verify that.
Sure.
Thanks, Richard.
Sure.
All right, Richard. And again, for everyone, I've asked Richard to do this just so you have an idea. And again, to verify, it's a 90-day free trial, and it's $39.95 per year per computer. And I suspect there's other things, but go ahead, Richard. And then I'm going to turn it, after you do that, turn it back to me.
Sure. Well, what we'll do at the end of the presentation, I'll provide Roberta basically a one-pager in case everybody wants to follow up for more information. You can go to criticalperiodriskmanagement.com and you'll see the two sections. One is for AppGuard Solo, where you get the free trial. AppGuard Enterprise is a little more complex because you're now putting AppGuard on individual endpoints plus servers, plus you have the option to monitor. And certainly when you get into hundreds or thousands of computers, there's a volume savings on the product. So that's about it. And I really appreciate the opportunity to present to everybody. And you've got a hole in your computer and we can help you plug it up.
I love that non-technical, Richard.
You got it.
I'll do that. Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Sammy, so much for taking your time to talk to all of our friends. We wanted to make sure that our friends are as protected as everybody needs to protect it. And most of us have experienced hackers, and it's not a pretty picture to clean it up. In fact, a friend of mine recently was hacked, her identity stolen. The person not only took all of her credit card information, bought an SUV, and then crashed it. The police got involved. The police then, it took a year for to get it off her record because the world thought she had the accident, not the person who actually stole her identity. So it's a messy world, and I really appreciate your time, Richard, and appreciate everything you brought to the table, Sammy, and truly appreciate AppGuard. And I appreciate everyone who's on this Zoom info call. And as promised, I'm going to return control to my co-host, Norma Lynn Cutler, to wrap it up and then give us information about our next invite to Tomorrow Today next month. Norma Lynn, back to you.
Thank you. Gosh, it's so formal. All right. Well, thank you, Richard. And I think you've got a lot of people interested, and we'll forward you some of the questions so you can follow up with them. So we're now figuring out that we can do this once a month. Next month, we're going to be featuring SnapCab. And Glenn, it's actually Glenn's iPad. It's not really Glenn, it's his iPad that's up there, is the founder of SnapCab, which is a very unique small office product that can be used on convention floors and all kinds of places. But I don't want to explain that because I want you to tune in for it. If you are interested in getting continuous invitations to this, please let the person who invited you in the first place know, so they make sure to add you to their recurring invite list. That would be very helpful for us, because who can remember all these fabulous people? I also want to say that there will be a recording of this program that will be made available to you if you ask for it. Again, ask the person who invited you. We have been recording it the whole time, and we will forward it to you so you can share it with your colleagues or whomever you deem appropriate. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I do. I really like to see all these new things. We're going to keep the new things coming at you. And, well, it's invitation to tomorrow today, but today is almost over for some of you. So Roberta, is there anything else you'd like to add?
So just a big thank you to everybody that joined us on the Zoom call. We'll have the recording available to you, plus the one page that Richard has prepared for us. We'll get that all out to you within the next 24 hours. And again, a huge thank you to Norma Lynn, and a big thank you to Tim Murphy, our techno wizard master today. He has a big smile on his face and a fabulous virtual background. Tim, we love you, and thank you, everyone. Back to you, Norma Lynn, to give the final goodbye, because I always know you like to have the final word.
I do. I'm always a last word person, so that's why I'm unmarried. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts or any comments you'd like to give us individually or as a group, we are in a learning phase, we think, even though we think we're very professional. There's always room for improvement. So share your thoughts with us too. I think that's about it. Now we can all go have lunch, dinner, cocktails, whatever works for you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Sammy.